In this video, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of what metabolic priming is and why metabolic priming is the most predictable and sustainable way to lose body fat, eat more food, and stay leaner for longer. So in this video, we're going to break down certain client transformations and at a very high level, actually do the description of what metabolic priming is and why it's so predictable among any other fad diet that you would want to try. So if you've been trying low-carb diets, keto diets for some time now, and you're wondering why you just always gain the weight right back, I'm going to explain in detail today what metabolic priming is and why it differs from any other approach on the internet right now, and specifically why my clients are seeing the best progress on the face of the internet, right? Phil, 80 pounds down, 1,200 more calories. Body recomposition from Reese. Kevin, down 35 pounds, 1,200 more calories. Steven, down 900 more calories per day, 18 pounds up and shredded. Addison, same weight, 205. 35 pounds down, 1,300 more calories. 1,000 more calories per day, lost the gut. Mason, 10 pounds down, 800 more calories per day. Jake, 20 pounds down, shredded, 3,600 more calories per day. Rick, 47, 600 more calories a day, 15 pounds down. And many of my other clients that I use metabolic priming with. So it is the most predictable way of actually losing body fat because it's a sustainable system. It's a process that I put in place with my current clients to allow their body to adjust to eating more food, affect their thermic rate of food intake to increase what they're eating food-wise, and also increase what their body burns, right? So if you guys don't know me by now, my name's Adam Bunnell. I'm an online fat loss professional. I work with dozens of men who've been stuck in fat loss plateaus, eating low amounts of calories and spinning their wheels for some time now. So I specialize in high-level forms of nutrition, metabolism manipulation, and hormonal fluctuations with my clients to allow them to eat more food and be able to stay leaner for longer. So if you want to know more about metabolic priming, there's going to be an in-depth video about metabolic priming, but I want to kind of cover the in-depth program about what metabolic priming is and why it's so sustainable amongst all my clients and the reason why my clients are seeing the best progress on the face of the internet right now. So right into the video, let's get started like what metabolic priming is. So metabolic priming is a form of metabolic adaptation, right? So if you've been going through some low caloric diet for some time now, you're under 2,000 calories and you're struggling to get lean, what you've done is you've hit a plateau. Right? So your body is an organism that is 10 times smarter than you will ever be, right? So if it starts to down regulate your metabolism in the form of not getting enough calories, your body will actually start to fight against you in the form of creating oxidative stress, creating inflammation, creating more lactate, so you actually prohibit you from losing body fat. So most of the guys who come to me are under 2,000 calories. They've been struggling to get lean for some time now, and they got that last lower bit of belly fat that just won't go away, no matter how low amounts of calories they eat and how much of cardio you do. So what's happened to you right now is your body has downregulated this metabolism, right? It's a form of metabolic adaptation that your body adapts to what it's eating over time, also known as diet fatigue. Take my client Devin, for example. When he came to me, he was eating 1,400 calories per day, right? 1,500 calories per day. And he was doing a ton of cardio. He was doing a ton of cardio expenditure, eating low amounts of calories, and you can just see in his initial photos how inflamed his gut seems to be. So the inflammation occurs from not getting enough nutrients in the form of food intake. Carbohydrates, for example, is what they put your body in what's called a parasympathetic state, which allows your body to be at rest, reduce fatigue, and reduce the actual inflammation and lactate that you put on your body from training in the form of maybe cardio or even strength training. So when you break down cardio in general, there's multiple types of cardio that affect actual fat loss. Low intensity cardio like walking or slow incline on a treadmill is a form of low intensity cardio in the form of zone 1 and zone 2 cardio, which specifically will actually burn body fat using the substrate of energy as body fat. Higher intensity cardio like running or even, HIIT training in general will, one, burn more carbohydrates, right? So if you don't have much carbohydrates in the form of actual energy expenditure, your body will start to downregulate everything and not getting enough food to supplement essential body functions. So what the metabolism is made up of is 3 separate sections, right? Your BMR, your thermic effect of food, and your exercise, expenditure, right? So your metabolism is actually made up of 60% of your BMR, which is blood flow, sleep, organ function. And so if your body does not think it's getting enough calories to support essential body functions, it'll down-regulate those calories in your body to just support those essential body functions. So imagine take somebody in the time of the prehistoric times, right? When food was scarce and you didn't know when you're getting your next meal. So if the body thinks that it's kind of starving and needs to savor for the essential body functions of breathing, blood flow, sleep, it'll start to down-regulate what you actually burn at rest, right? So it's a form of metabolic adaptation in today's society. Instead of what prehistoric times, what people do is purposely calorically restrict because they hear on the internet that it's all about calories in versus calories out. And that is true to a certain point when you get into a metabolic parallel. So what I specialize in permanently is actually getting your body to burn more calories, right? To get your body to burn more calories at rest, increasing your BMR, increasing 60% of your metabolism. Because if that 60% of your metabolism isn't up to par, isn't where it need to be, the other 40% will not matter, right? So the other 40% is the thermic effect of food, which is the calorie conversion digestion process within food. And then the other half is actual what you burn calorically when you exercise, right? Thermogenic energy, right? So if your body does not think that it is getting enough food to supply essential body functions, all the allocated calories will go towards supporting the bodily function. So it doesn't matter how low amounts of food you eat. It doesn't matter how much cardio you eat. It only wants to supply the essential body function because it makes up 60% of the metabolism. So people come to me all the time eating under 2,000 calories and doing tons of cardio, and they feel like they're spinning their wheels with Devin right here, with a gut that just can't seem to go away. So what you've done over time is basically you've put your body into metabolic parallel, like in a metabolic state where it's no longer wanting to burn calories, right? Take Steven, for example. He was the same way. It's restricting tons of carbohydrates, and you can just see how his body looks a little bit inflamed. His gut looks a little bit inflamed. And so what we had to do was get his body to adjust back to eating more food and burning more calories, right? So you guys have probably made great progress in the past by just cutting your calories. But you get to a certain point calorically wise, and you just feel like you can't get any leaner. So that is your body's automatic response to metabolic adaptation, lowering everything in the form of actually burning calories. So what I specialize in primarily is metabolic priming. Priming your body to lose more fat, right? Priming the body, aligning the body hormonally to lose more body fat, right? So instead of going down in calories, so imagine this. Imagine Steven comes to me, I think he was eating, 2,000 calories, around 2,000 calories, and what if he came to me and he said, hey, I want to lose body fat? Okay, great. So we start, go off of the typical calories in versus calories out, and we start lowering his calories. So we get to 1,900 calories, we get to 1,800 calories, we get to 1,700 calories, and now he's not even getting enough nutritional, knowledge or not even a nutritional supplementation to actually be able to, sustain leptin levels in the form of leptin and ghrelin, which are the two hunger hormones, because if you're not getting enough actual food substrates in the form of nutrition, leptin, the leptin hormone, which is the hormone in the body that tells you that you're satiated, decreases, and the ghrelin, the hormone in your body that actually tells you that you're hungry, will actually increase. So, if you start to lower calories in the form of not getting enough calorie expenditure, leptin will increase. The amount of, hormone in your body that tells you that you're satiated will actually go down. But the ghrelin, the hormone in the body that tells you that you're hungry, will go up. So you notice how we start to fall in this little bit of a deep hole, right? Where the lower that we get in calories, the more hormones we get out of whack. And that's why people, they start getting super hungry. It starts being really unsustainable, and that's when they just gain it all right back because they don't align their body hormonally to get out of that hole, right? So the greatest thing about metabolic priming in general is it's a system. It's a systematic process that I've integrated with all my personal clients' programs to make sure that we first optimize their hormone levels and we first optimize their metabolism to be able to get their calories to majority burn at rest, right? So we cut all their cardio right off the bat and we focus on decreasing inflammation and increasing digestion, right? So when you think about digestion, what it is scientifically, digestion is how you break down food. What is metabolism? How your body breaks down and digests food. So there's a direct correlation between a good digestion, a good gut health, and actual metabolism. So some of the clients who have came to me in the past with just highly inflamed guts, like Andres right here, and he was eating around 2,000 calories, right? He is now eating 2,900 calories on the right, 1,000 more calories on the left, and he is down a significant amount of actual size in the gut. So that's a direct depiction of what's happening within his body, is that there's a bunch of inflammation going on that we had to subside, and we had to optimize digestion first, right? So how do we do this? Like, how do we optimize digestion? So right off the bat, optimizing digestion for all my clients is number one priority, making sure our digestion's flowing through us really well, that we're getting good nutrient absorption, and that we are absorbing the nutrients we actually need to align your body hormonally. So many of these clients who come to me, and you might be in the same position when you're starving, eating little amounts of calories, and you just gain it back every single time, it's because you put yourself in what's called like a metabolic hole, right? Where you're now in a hole where you're super hungry. Anytime you go out to eat, or maybe eat a little bit over what your caloric amount is, you skyrocket in weight because your body is not used to eating more food, and now you start to build oxidative stress and inflammation in the gut area, and that's where you get that kind of inflamed gut, and you get that lower body fat that just looks watery and won't go away. And then if you try to keep going, that's when the body starts to tap into actual protein as fuel, right? Which could get you caught in the skinny fat phase, which a direct depiction of what the skinny fat phase is really just the inadequate amount of muscle tissue to body fat, right? So take my client, take my client Christian, for example, right? Or let's take Tristan, right? So Tristan was trying to get lean for some time now. He's eating 1,400 calories when he came to me. We started him off at 1,600 calories, right? But notice how that he just like looks a little bit soft, a little bit watery. He just looks kind of like frail. So over time, what he had done, he was doing tons of cardio, eating very low amounts of food, and anytime he would eat a little bit more, his weight would just skyrocket back up because his metabolism was so shot. So what we had to do is really focus on growing lean muscle tissue. Why? Because when you're caught in the skinny fat phase, on a client Christian here, the best way to get out of the skinny fat phase is to grow lean muscle tissue. So hyper-focusing on lean muscle tissue, you're able to expand that skin more, expand that muscle tissue into the skin more. So think about it like this metaphorically. Like, think about a balloon under your shirt right now, right? Think about the balloon as fully depleted in the form of, I guess, metaphorically, like glycogen, food in the muscles. You don't really see that balloon too much, correct? Right? It almost looks like it's soft, like it's flat. What we have to do is we have to hyper-focus on growing lean muscle tissue, getting good glycogen within the muscle, and expanding that muscle into the skin. That's how you not only be able to stay leaner at a higher body fat percentage, but that's also how you create a good metabolic base. Because one, muscle tissue is highly glucose absorbent and highly, highly metabolic, right? You have 4 times as much metabolic presence in muscle tissue than you have in body fat. So the more muscle tissue you have, the more you can eat. The more you can eat, the more sustainable your progress is. And so hyper-focusing right off the bat, instead of going deeper into the metabolic hole, what we do right off the bat is try to focus on growing lean muscle tissue and getting that skin to expand by slowly raising their calories. But what makes the difference here by us just doing, I guess, a typical reverse diet that you call an actual metabolic priming. So metabolic priming dives deeper into the actual hormonal science behind the protein, carbs, and fats that we're consuming on a day-to-day basis and on a week-to-week basis to actually get us to where we need to be. So each macromolecule plays a specific role in your body, right? Protein has a high thermic effect, right? So we talk about how within your metabolism that 15% of your actual metabolism is made up of the thermic effect of food. So the highest thermic effect macromolecule is protein. So protein has a thermic effect of 30%, which means that every 100 calories of protein you eat, 30% of that gets broken in the digestive process to convert it into energy. So setting with the protein goal that's going to build muscle tissue, but is also highly thermogenic, is going to help with growing lean muscle tissue and getting you leaner at the same time, right? So they did studies on a higher protein diet, right? A higher protein diet in the form of you're over the typical 1 gram per body weight. Obviously, it depicts on what type of person it is, what they do for a living, their age, height, weight, and how I use my formulas and plug their information in my formulas to get that correct protein amount. But if we have a higher thermic effect within your body, you're able to get leaner and grow lean muscle tissue at the same time. So the study that they did was the higher protein intake for your typical 0.8 to 1 pound per body weight is that the higher protein intake group actually had a higher thermic effect and catabolic effect on body fat, similar to the over-the-counter fat burner, because it has such a high thermic effect. So diving deeper into the macronutrients thing, like fat intake, for example. So fat intake, quite specifically, regulates hormone levels. So a ton of the guys who come to me are overeating on fat intake, which does subside a lot of gut inflammation, right? So let's take a client, for example, Rick, for example. So Rick's a great test subject. So Rick was eating way too much fat, right? So what we did was, first of all, we had to optimize his digestion at the highest rate, which lower fat intake, but not low enough to where that your hormones were out of whack. Because if you go too low in fat intake, your hormones will fly out of whack. So we wanted to nail the fat intake to make sure we're optimizing hormone levels. But fat also optimizes digestion, right? So lowering it down to where it's a sustainable amount to maintain hormone levels, maintain T3, T4 metabolism, thyroid, testosterone, but also make sure that we're mitigating actual digestion. So the reason why fat is a big role in digestion is because it's the higher calorically valued macronutrient, and it's the lowest thermic effect on the actual thermic effect chart. It has a 3% thermic effect, right? So with that, we lowered Rick's, fat intake a little bit, raised some food in the form of carbohydrates and protein. He's up 600 calories and down 15 pounds in 8 weeks, and he's 47 and shredded, right? Which is absolutely unreal, right? And then we get into carbohydrates intake, which carbohydrates, do get a bad rap in today's society just because of, one, if you do eat too much carbohydrates, yes, you will gain weight, right? You will put off fatty deposits in the form of glucose, and you will gain fat, right? But carbohydrates do play a specific role in mitigation of inflammation and oxidative stress, right? So carbohydrates are quite literally correlated to the essential body functions, and utilizing carbohydrates to get your BMR up is extremely beneficial, right? So take Mason, for example. Notice how he's just kind of a little bit soft, a little bit flat. So we had to raise his protein intake with a higher thermic effect, mitigate fat intake, and start working his way in to using carbohydrates to mitigate inflammation levels and lactate, but also increase muscle tissue, like we said earlier, which is highly metabolic, which, he made an amazing, transformation at 215 to 215 at the same weight, but he's like shredded, right? And, a lot of people get too in the weeds with actual losing weight, right? You don't have a weight loss problem. People don't have a weight loss problem. If I told you right now that you could be exactly where you're at weight-wise but shredded, you wouldn't care. Nobody does. People want to lose body fat. There's a difference between losing weight and losing body fat. If you're losing weight, say, for instance, people who do very upfront caloric deficits very fast lose 20 pounds in 1 month and 10 of it's muscle, and now you're already preconditioning yourself and positively reinforcing yourself that you can lose 20 pounds in 4 weeks, and then you actually hit the regular 1 to 1.5 pounds of body weight per week, which is typical for actual fat loss, and then you give up your metabolism shot and you just gain all that back. And how long has that been going on for you? I'm guessing more than a couple months, right? Because people go ends on years and doing the same cycle and never really preconditioning their body right to stay lean. You wonder why all these people online, I can stay lean year round, is because I've conditioned my body, I've learned the aspects to actually stay lean, and I can eat more calories and have more calories in the form of, a calorie bank per day that all I have to do is stay under, whereas I'm not hungry, I'm satiated, I get to eat good food, and I understand how to track macronutrients, and so I can eat all my essential hormone, fluctuations within protein, carbs, and fats, and stay lean and stay comfortable. So going along this process, when we do nail their macronutrients and we do nail my clients' macronutrients, we try to get their weight up, their calories up as far as possible without going over their initial weight, right? Without going over initial weight, which means that, we have clients that lose a crap ton of weight in just 1 month, like Mike here lost 15 pounds, 400 calories per day in a metabolic priming phase. Nathan right here lost 15 pounds in 1 month, 500 more calories. Notice how much tighter he is. My client Ben down 10 pounds in 2 weeks with metabolic priming. So it happens really, really fast. So like most people in this situation, you're down 15 pounds. the first thing they would think is like, okay, well, let's lower some calories some more. I completely understand how you might feel that way. But say that we get Nathan here from 2,000, now he's at like 20, 25, 2,600, and then we start to lower it back down. We go 24, 23, 22. Instead, we keep going, build lean muscle tissue, utilize protein, carbs, and fats to regulate hormone levels, not put off fat in the process. Because you got to understand, these guys check in with me every single week to make sure that their body is progressing at the right rate. If their body is not progressing at the right rate, we wait a week and wait for their body to adjust. And if it is, then we increase a little bit more food and let their body absorb a little bit more glucose in the form of carbohydrates to stimulate a little bit more metabolic growth. And we do this every single week. And so I know that they're not putting off body fat. So as we go up, as long as they're not putting off body fat, they're getting stronger in the gym, building lean muscle tissue, we're able to, one, get more form of actual calories under our belt. So let's say, for instance, like Jaden here, he started at like 2,200 calories. He's 8 weeks in. He's at 2,700 calories, and he's like pretty lean. Like he looks pretty damn good, right? So instead of actually, one, just starting to go digress in calories, right, 27, 26, we try to get them up to 34, 35. And this directly depends on how well your body actually absorbs. And I can usually tell within the first couple of weeks after I learn my client, when we get to the highest form of calories that your body can handle. I can usually tell when your body's at its cap, and it varies person to person, because I have clients that have asked me before, like, how do you know like when to start like lowering calories back down? You will know in your body, and I will see within your body how your body is progressing when it's time to kind of dial it back. Like, one, we watch the weight, we watch the strength, we watch the body composition. At some certain point, you will start to digress just a little bit when we get up in calories. But before we get to that point where you're starting to put off body fat and your body is getting overloaded by glucose, that's when we halt, start adding a little cardio, and then start lowering the calories, right? So instead of starting at 2,000 calories, or like Kevin here, we got him to 3,500 calories. He lost some weight in the process, built some muscle in the process since he's growing lean muscle tissue, which is going to absorb a lot of glucose anyways. And then we build leverage in the form of calories and no cardio, right? So we get his BMR up, get his body burning calories at rest, and then we add a little bit of cardio and lower a little bit of food. So instead of starting at 2,100 calories, going to 2,000, going to 1,900, we slowly raise the calories, got his BMR up to at 3,400, let his body adjust, had his BMR burning at the highest possible rate, and then we started to slowly raise it back down and add a little bit more cardio, which is way more predictable because it's an actual system. We optimize your BMR first, we lower the food, add the cardio, and we shred the body fat right off your skin, right? So, and the thing is, why is this a predictable process? Is because, for instance, this picture on the right is Devin's first metabolic priming phase. This is his second. So the thing is, why is this so predictable is because it's a process you can do over and over again. And you can get leaner in body fat percentage by lowering calories, start slowly focusing on muscle, growing muscle, and raising your BMR. When your body gets to a certain capping point, you start adding more cardio and lowering the calories back down. And every single time you do it, you stay leaner and you build more muscle tissue, right? So over time, you expand the muscle more, you stay leaner in the form of getting rid of some body fat, and you can repeat this process over and over and over and over again. And that's how people you see on social media stay lean for year round, because they condition their body. They've done this process over and over again to where they're eating more calories, they have a bigger calorie bank, they're comfortable at what they eat, and they're not hungry at all. They're not under 2,000 calories struggling with actual hunger pains. They're lean because they precondition their body to be lean and stay lean in the form of actually utilizing your hormones to actually get your BMR up, lower the calories slightly, get to a sustainable actual amount of calories, and just be able to sustain that as long as you can, right? So that's why metabolic priming is so beneficial and why it's such a predictable process that I use with each one of my clients. Like, Phil, like 80 freaking pounds right here. Like, these are two different people. And that's why it's just a predictable process I use with each one of my clients. And that's why my clients are quite literally seeing the best possible progress on the face of the internet right now, because I've created an actual blueprint, and I'll kind of show you. that walks them through this process, right? That walks through the data collections, data calculations, data implementation, metabolic priming, fat loss phase, add or lower activity, weight comes stagnant, do a structured refeed, back in the fat loss phase, weight freeze, and then we do a structured refeed, it doesn't work, we go back in the metabolic priming phase, and we just keep repeating this process over and over and over and over and over again until we get to the goal physique. You have better health, sustainable results, know nutritionally what you need to eat, what you can't eat, what your body needs, protein, carbs, and fats wise, and then you have results with more confidence, more dating, more longevity, more discipline. You look good and feel good. You give Coach Adam a great client testimonial, and then everybody knows that this is one of the best programs on the fucking face of the internet. So anyways, that is kind of my entire high-level breakdown of what metabolic priming is and why it is the most beneficial form of getting lean and staying lean, because it is a predictable process. And I'm doing something completely different than everybody on the face of the internet right now. And I want to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, because a lot of people out there don't believe me and don't believe my clients are eating more food than they ever have and the leanest body fat percentage they have ever been. But it's quite literally, the results are quite literally undeniable. What I do is undeniable, and it's because it's an actual system, and it's not just a get-rich-quick scheme to get as low as body fat percentage as fast as you can. It's actually doing it right, utilizing your hormones, taking a scientific approach to fat loss, and creating sustainability and longevity. So if you're struggling to get lean, there's going to be a link down below with a one-on-one that we can jump on together. I'll see where you're at, and if you're a good fit to work with me, I'll build you out some higher level strategy, and we'll show you what it looked like to partner up. And if I'm 100% confident that I can help you and what metabolic priming is what you need to get lean, I'll be happy to have you and happy to change your life. So thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Go watch my free metabolic priming masterclass down below, and I'll see you guys next time.